Okay.
As weird as it sounds, it's like, because it's obviously time where I can go and just zone out, and just think, how can I better myself? How can I do this? What can I do to physically get more out of this performance? And I think that kind of helps a lot with the way I think of it as well now.
What was your total weight loss? Do you know?
25 kilos.
So 25 kilos in how long, roughly? Lockdown?
Yeah, 2 months.
We are finding success, and we're here to help break that monotony of your life and help you find your own version of success. Welcome back to another episode, guys, with me, Alex.
And me, Adam. And also,
Dun, dun, dun.
we have a special guest today. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jack.
So Jack is going to be... this is, by the way, guys, this is Jack's first time behind a mic, so it's a bit...
It'll be like us when we started.
Yeah, go back to episode 1 if you want to give it a listen, so you can kind of
terrible.
compare how we were.
Yeah.
Jack.
Yes. Let's go... We'll just take it nice and easy.
We've
first.
got to tell about the special episode. We're interviewing this. Karen.
This is obviously a special episode because there's obviously another person here anyway.
Yeah,
But if you're listening, we have Jack here. Jack is one of the people that we've known for quite a long time. We're going to talk about his journey in multiple ways, starting from, I think, his unbelievable weight loss journey that he's done, and not only that, into his career progression as well.
Love that.
And sort of mindset into changing the way that you want to be and how you want to be. But before we get into it, how was your week, Barson?
Struggled this week.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was, but didn't do as well as previous weeks. Not that I've lost. It's not a terrible week. It's still better than last year. I'm still smashing it. But this week wasn't quite as good. But that's all right. I've learned from it. Gone through our accountability.
Cool.
Found the weak points. Gonna nail it this week.
Great.
So it's a little dip before a climb. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm the same, mate. Exactly the same way. We find those accountability bits. For instance, I struggled a bit with journaling this week.
Yeah.
So I know that I failed with my journaling because I can see it on the sheet.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we're just going to upgrade and push forward.
That's
Real
it,
simple.
exactly.
Real simple.
Grow from here.
So, Jack, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? Give us your name and who you're about. What do you do?
My name's Jack. I am a mechanic.
Nice.
And I like doing my cycling and bits and bobs and trying to keep fit and healthy and progress myself and progress what I am as a person, basically.
We're going to go into your... Well, I like... When we have guests on, this is the first guest, by the way, second guest, actually. But we like going into their childhood first. That's one of the main things that we find, because as we said 3 episodes ago, speaking about Ray Dalio's childhood,
Absolutely.
and Matt's and Warren's, there's always a definitive factor. So I want to go into your childhood first. So go right back to your earliest memory. Where did you grow up? What did you do as a kid?
Yeah, grew up in a little village just outside Leicester called Rothley. I'd say I had a pretty good childhood, to be fair.
Nice.
Always sort of, my mum and dad always worked and looked after us. Got a younger brother who's 2 years younger than me.
Okay.
So, we have a good bond. We still do. We get on really well. We still speak to each other. So, it's nice to have that family connection and sort of help each other out when we need it. But I was always quite, I would say active as a kid. I was like your normal kid going out and playing and, knocking the ball around, having a bit of fun, staying out too late and, having a little walkie-talkie and you'd sit there and your mum would go, and you'd be like, oh, all right.
You had a walkie-talkie?
Yeah. Our whole block had walkie-talkies.
Game changer.
They all had walkie-talkies and then all of a sudden you'd be scooting along and it'd come out your pocket and it's like, that's that smash smithereens. I don't know now when mum wants me to come back. But yeah, I'd say I had quite a good childhood, to be fair, and yeah, I wouldn't say it was a bad one at all. So
Excellent.
Yeah.
All right, and what about things you'd done as a kid? Because also we know you were heavily into motorsport as from a young age. You sort of got into it. What did you sort of start off with?
Well, it's kind of like my dad's fault, really. So he was always into his bikes, his cars, and everything else, racing. So I think, he got me going on like bikes. We watched MotoGP, went up to Donington and watched MotoGP when it was there instead of Silverstone, and all that sort of stuff. I started watching Formula One, I think, in 2007 and bits and bobs like that, and started growing into it. Massive Ferrari fan back in the day, not so much now.
Good.
And it sort of grew from there, really. It was just, as a kid, I sort of always enjoyed being hands-on. Like, in the classroom, it was more if I could actually touch and physically do something or build something or play with something whilst learning about it, it would go in easier than just looking at a book and reading it, if that makes sense.
I think a lot of people are built like that nowadays. You know, where okay, it's maybe changed for recent generation, but I mean, certainly with our generation, we were more definitely like, if you could smell, touch, feel, and hear stuff, it always went a lot easier than what it would for writing down on a piece of paper.
Absolutely.
I don't know, 100%. So there was all that sort of stuff, and I just always loved playing around with bits. Like I'd always get in trouble, kind of, because I'd always be taking the lawnmower apart or something like that. It wouldn't work. And
Jack, why does this lawnmower not work?
Yeah, it was a bit of a problem at that point, but no, I was always quite hands on and stuff like that. So it was just something I enjoyed doing.
Yeah, mega. And what about? So obviously you spoke about a little bit into like taking stuff apart.
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll go into your role currently later. But why do you think that was? Where did it come from? Was it like a dad thing? Was it a granddad thing? Was it a parent thing? You know, where did it come from?
I mean, it could also. I mean,
just your curiousness,
I
or
blame my dad a bit, but I mean, I suppose my great granddad.
Okay.
I believe it was. So he was actually a mechanic in the RAF back in, I think it was World War II. I might have butchered it.
Back in there.
And then he used to do all the flights. So like he'd repair things like Spitfires and stuff, but then fly them to bases from the repair shop from where they needed to be and stuff. And he was always into his cars and bits. And I mean, he went at a young age, so I didn't really meet him much, or I can't really remember a lot of it. But from what my family have said about him, it's like I'm just like a younger version of him, effectively. So,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, my dad always was influenced and was like, oh yeah, just take it apart and have a look at it. And it's like, all right. And then I'll be like, Dad, yeah, it's apart now, and you're gonna have to do some fixing. I do not know what I'm doing now. But no, it was sort of, as I say, it was a bit curious because obviously I was always interested on how. I still find it interesting now how things work, how things go. You know, from everything from planes down to boats, down to cars, to everything. So it's always interesting. Like when I find something out new, I like seeing,
nice.
and especially like when you can see it and touch it, and you know, build things and see, oh, that's how it goes, that's where it goes, and oh, that's how it works, kind of thing. And I kind of feel like it's made me a little bit more of who I am today, of just going, yeah, okay, I'll have a go at it, and taking it apart and seeing what happens and trialing it.
Go from there. Yeah, nice.
No, exactly.
And what about your teen era then? Like, we'll go from like your teens. Like, how was your, like, what did you do growing up as a teenager? Obviously, like, was you out with friends quite a lot? Or, you know, what was it sort of?
So my teens it was a bit of a weird sort of phase, really, because I mean, yeah, I went out with my friends quite a bit. We'd just go out. Just dossed about, really.
Yeah.
But also, I did quite a bit of karting and bits and bobs. So that obviously took up quite a lot of time, which my dad got me into again. So we were away 2 or 3 weekends of the month doing some racing and stuff, which obviously took up a lot of time. I didn't really have a lot of friendship kind of time, if you like, apart from in the evenings. But in the evenings when we did, we went out on bikes and just did kid things, really, go playing on the dirt jumps and breaking things.
As you do.
All the rest of it, yeah.
Nice.
So,
and so where did this is going to sound a bit horrible, where did you first realise that you were sort of overweight?
I mean, I always realised it.
Okay.
I mean, it's sort of one of them tough ones because as a kid, I was big, but I was never like, we didn't eat bad as a household. It was always like we had good, healthy meals. Like we weren't just fed like potato waffles and chicken nuggets. Like
Best meal ever.
I know it is now, but you know, it wasn't like the standard. Like, you having whatever they're called, turkey twizzlers,
turkey twizzlers.
Yeah, that's one of those.
You know what I mean? Like
good.
it wasn't like that, and like potato pockets, whatever they were, pizza pockets, and all that. We were having stuff like spaghetti, lasagna. You know, actual good sort of meals that were made out of
actual
nice,
ingredients.
Yeah, actual nice food. And stuff.
Yeah.
So I sort of did all that, and it was sort of in the karting phases, really, because it was kind of a bribe at the start for my dad, which was like, oh, if you want to lose some weight, if you lose some weight, we can go karting, because obviously you need to be a bit lighter to go karting. I was like, mint, like it was sort of a bribery. So I started trying, and we went karting, and I actually got down on my weight. But then it was unfortunate. It was when I started. I say it's unfortunate. It's sort of an excuse, I suppose, because I should have kept going. But when I went away with work and stuff, especially once I moved up to higher levels of what I was doing, it sort of all came back on again in a way. And it got to a point where it was just, no, I can't physically. I mean, it was lockdown where I physically went, no, this is it. Like, I can't. Because I was sort of happy at a happy medium where it was like, where I went down to my like lowest of the time. I was happy there. And then I'd go away racing and come back a little bit heavier and then manage to get back down to that. But because of COVID and lockdown and the trip we'd just come back from where the food we were eating was horrendous, it was like, this is like, if I keep going, I'm brown bread. I'm done. Like, well, I'm physically going to be like useless. I'm not going to be able to do things, and I'm just going to end up getting in a really bad state. So,
when did you start going away with work?
2016, I think, was my first away trip. With work.
You were 16 years old.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, first trip away.
Obviously, because that, like, again, it was to look back at pictures. I mean, I'm the same. Like, initially, when obviously you go away, you start having alcohol, you start eating food that necessarily wasn't readily available for you at the time when you were living with your parents, and you have money to spend on food, on alcohol, and it's just like, this is where all the weight comes from. Yeah. So exactly. It's quite an easy trap to fall into, and I think even today with the time now where, again, it's in current market conditions where stuff is quite expensive, food's quite expensive, and processed stuff isn't expensive at all. You can get, chicken nuggets for really, really cheap that aren't not good for you at all. But you can also get frozen peas and frozen carrots that are actually not bad for you. I mean, the other day I shop at Costco, and just to get frozen chicken, you get 2.5 kilos of frozen chicken for 15 quid.
It's not bad at all.
2.5 kilos, lovely job. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's
breasts or
breasts.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's straight out of the freezer. You put it out, you defrost it, and then you just cook away, and rice and peas or whatever, and you're fine. You're done.
Lovely job.
So it's really helpful for you. And at the same time, because it's convenient, it's convenience food. It's what we spoke about, instant gratification almost.
That's it.
Yeah.
I think this is where you get it's two different sides of the argument in there. So healthy food is quite healthy, cheap. Bananas, all that, peas, sweet corn, broccoli. It's the meat that's quite expensive. Yeah. But also, you have to do a lot more work. Like you have to
cut it and clean
clean, skin your carrots, skin your potatoes, peel them. Sorry. Preparation. Whereas the similarly cheap or maybe slightly more expensive frozen nuggets, turkey twizzlers, chicken dippers, beans, and just ready to go. Microwave jobby, oven jobby. You can put that on while you're watching TV, carry on enjoying yourself, sat down on your ass.
Yeah, after you've had a hard day at work.
Yeah. And it's just two thoughts. It's the hard route for an easy life, or the easy route for a harder life, and everyone. It's just the instant gratification. Yeah. Easy route, turn the oven on, done.
Yeah, it's quite a good. Well, just bringing that while you're on the easy life thing. I was chatting to one of the guys from judo yesterday, and he was saying that we're at a phase where, as a generation, we're quite hard on ourselves. So when we first sort of came around, as the human race came around, it was obviously hard men for an easy life, because obviously we're cavemen, cavewomen, we're out there struggling, hunting for our food, trying to live, starting fires and stuff. But our life was easy. It was everything else to live was very, very
simple.
Easy. Simple.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Now we're at the stage where we choose. We're very easy as people.
It's an easy life.
We like things to be easy. Gratification, it's there, it's done, it's ready. We can go to Mackey's and get the food. We can go to Costa and get the coffee. We don't have to hunt for it. We don't have to prepare it. And that is creating, as you said, a hard life. It's making ourselves, the situations that we get put in, for instance, recessions and so on and so forth, we're making ourselves susceptible to...
Well, exposing ourselves to collapse and all sorts of other issues that are going on in the world. And it's because we're not taking the hard choices every day that we're going down that route.
And it's just that circle, whereas we're in this stage we need to get out of it.
Yeah.
You can get out of it as a person yourself.
Absolutely. But are you saying as a generation?
As a generation as well, I think.
We're soft.
Yeah.
It's
right
that
now.
snowflake generation.
Yeah,
it's dangerous, isn't
Yeah.
it?
And this is where, so as you said, when you first realised that this is it, I've had enough, was COVID.
It was COVID. Like, it was like within the first weeks, we'd just gone into lockdown. We just sort of like been made redundant from work and everything like that. And it was just like, at first it was like, oh yeah, nice, a little bit of a holiday, like, a bit of a free holiday, see what happens. Like, I'm fine, everyone I know is fine, so see what happens. Obviously I know it's not the right attitude, because obviously it was quite a dangerous and bad thing, but at the time not knowing much about it, it was a bit like, oh, okay, we'll just see what happens then.
And I remember seeing you like just before we left, and again you were your, no offense to your chubby self, you used to always a chubby guy.
Yeah.
And then when you came back was the end of 2020.
Yep.
And I looked at you like bloody stink man. I'm not even kidding. So just talk about what you'd done over the COVID period, because obviously people I know I put on a bit of weight. I wasn't a lot of weight, but put on a bit. I was working out, still doing a lot of works and cycling and stuff, but I think you took it to a whole new level.
Yeah,
So
you
what was
smashed
your
it.
regime? What did you get up to?
I mean,
Talk
I'd
about
say it was quite unhealthy, to be fair.
Okay.
I don't think I did it in a healthy manner. And so as I say, I didn't really eat necessarily bad when I was still going, if that makes sense. Like before COVID time, again, it was still like I was eating normal meals, normal sort of sizes. It was just more the amounts of maybe sweets and chocolates that I was probably having. So I just sort of cut it all out and went no. So I'd have like, for breakfast, I'd literally just have a cereal bar. Lunch, I'd literally just have a can of soup, or my mum would start making homemade soups, and I started making some soups myself and stuff. And then just a general evening meal like that would be like burgers or spaghetti, or just the same as I was sort of already having. But like if we had burgers, I'd cut like, instead of having like 2 burgers and 2 cobs and that's it, because we wouldn't have chips with it in our house, we'd just have like a burger.
Yeah.
So I'd normally just have 2, but I'd then cut it out and go, well, I'll have 2 patties, but 1 cob, if that, or whatever you want to call it down there, because you're Southerners, aren't you? Roll.
Talking about a sweet corn, are we talking about...
A roll. A cob.
The bread.
A barn
The
cake.
cob.
Whatever you want to go
Do you call
for.
it cob?
Yeah.
Have you heard of that before?
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about sweet corn on the cob.
Northerners.
I was like, that's a burger and sweet corn, that's normal.
No, so yeah, obviously one, whatever you want to call it, roll. And I was like, I should probably just cut it back and have 1. Or like if I had spaghetti, I'd cut like the pasta and just have the meat, and like try and just cut carbs and bits that I didn't feel necessarily like that I needed. And also, I mean, I wasn't doing a lot of COVID time. So I was like, well, I don't really need to intake like 2,500 calories or whatever, because I'm not burning 2,500 calories. So I sort of started with that, and then I was getting bored, and I was like, what can I do to physically go and do something outside the house? And I mean, since, like, I mean, obviously I started karting, I've always loved speed and adrenaline and bits and bobs like that. So I was like, I'll just get the bike out, you know, it's go and do what I do. And I think I went, the first day I think I was out for about 4.5 hours just pedaling around, and I was just like, this is actually quite fun.
This is a road bike or a mountain bike?
Mountain bike.
Okay.
Oh, this is actually quite fun, you know, like I can get behind this. And it actually gave us some excuses, as bad as it sounds, to like get my mates out, and we'd go out as like a group on our bikes. Because obviously it was like, oh, well, we're not together, we don't know each other, but we're going to ride around together kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we'd go to the dirt jumps and do that and all that. And then eventually, I think it was my nan actually, because she started doing some, I can't remember if it was Walk for Alzheimer's or something.
Okay.
And she was tracking it on Strava, and she was like, oh, can you get Strava and like just have a look at it for, like, just have a look at me and like see what I'm doing and all that, and just like, you know, like every now and again, give me some support and all that. I was like, yeah, no worries. So I got Strava.
This is your nan, by the way?
Yeah.
How old's your nan?
That makes me sound really bad because I have no clue. I think she's pushing like 75 maybe.
And she's on Strava, like banging out walks?
Yeah, probably like 4, 5,
Fair
6 miles.
play.
Her and my granddad play golf 4 or 5 times a week maybe. So they're doing the golf course as well, that to many times a week. And
Lovely job.
they're still going round, but...
Sorry, before you carry on, don't forget where you are, because it's really important. But we spoke about it the other week. We spoke about when you stop moving, you're ready to die.
Yeah.
When you're that age, you know, 70, 80, and you quit at life. You
Yep.
think that you're retired now, life's over, you've got nothing to live for, you just shrivel up and die. This is the prime example of that not happening.
How not to do it, yeah.
Getting out, going for a 5-mile run, go playing golf, you know, go and doing stuff. Do physical stuff that just gets you up and out of that chair is so important to people. And we all know people's situations are different, and necessarily some people might not be able to drive to a golf course or afford to play golf. But even so, you can just get out of that chair and
go for a walk in a meadow.
You can put any pair of shoes on. It doesn't matter what they are. It could be slippers if you want to. And just get out and walk. Yeah. Just do a K, then do a K and a half. I mean, I was watching Zac Efron's program on Netflix recently.
Zac Efron?
Yeah, he has a really like a vegan like life world program. Really, really smart. Talks about how to sort of improve your life, like almost grounding yourself to the earth so you can understand and feel things. And yeah. Anyway, really good episode. But he met a guy. He went to a place in Italy, and it was the oldest place full of centurions in the world, which is people that are over 100.
Oh.
This place is in the world has created more people out of everywhere else, people that are over 100 years old. And he met this guy who was 108 years old, and he was doing 4.5k a day, just walking up and down the stairs. And he would walk around his town, and his town was not hilly, it was not flat, it was steep, it had hills, it had steps. And one of his final walks was like 110 stairs up to his house, and he'd do this every single day. The bloke was 108.
Yeah.
So, you know, just certain things like that 108 years old, we just get out and go.
Yeah, the blood. I think it's the blood flow around the body. You get it pumping around, your heart going. It's a muscle. You got to exercise it.
Gotta work it,
People
yeah.
forget that. They think it's just going to keep going, but it's a muscle. You've got to exercise. There's a museum in Amsterdam. I think it was called now, but they've got two different hearts. One from an athlete who's like worked it ridiculous hard all his life, and then a mother that's not actually done anything in her entire life. And the size difference is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like your heart physically can grow and get more powerful and more like just have more energy about it.
Yeah.
If you use it. So it's that old saying, you don't use it, you lose it, sort of thing.
And the
Same
reason
thing
with
with
Christmas, when we've had a week off, 2 weeks off, how fat, useless, and ugly do we feel?
And stiff.
me about
At
it.
our
Do you
age,
know what I mean?
you get a bit stiff, don't you? And your feet are after the first day, like, they're not used to being like. I remember coming back from COVID. I had 3 months off, furloughed.
Yeah.
The first week back, my feet were in so much pain because I hadn't been on my feet for 8 hours solid a day.
Yeah.
Like for 3 months. So they forgot how to be on my feet. And imagine if you're doing that at 60, 70 years old. It's going to be 10 times the pain, you know?
Exactly.
And then you get into that level, hang on, my feet hurt, so I can't do anything tomorrow. So you're going to be on your feet all day, and it's just snowballs.
Exactly. Just get out of
Horrifically.
control.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
carry on, sorry, man. So, yeah,
That's right. No. So yeah, so obviously she was, I say, knocking about on Strava, doing all these walks and stuff, and I was like, oh, fair enough. Because I got it, I noticed like, you could track your activity on it.
Yeah, nice.
So I was like, oh, I can track my walking, I can track my cycling. I'll see what I can do. So I started tracking it because I was just like sort of going what I thought was quite a distance. I was like, oh, I've done quite a big ride, and I was sort of went on it with Strava, and I was like, that's not very far at all compared to what I thought it was. So I was like, all right, well, if I go to here and back, that's like 5 miles, so it's a 10-mile round ride. So I started off by just doing little bits, or going around my normal route that I sort of knew, or going off to see different things that I knew were there, but I'd never really been because I couldn't get there in the car and all that. I think I started out at must have been doing 7 or 8 miles. I thought was pretty good. I was like, this is pretty good going, 7, 8 miles on the bike every day. I was like, yeah, I can do this. I can get behind this. Which, I mean, for some people, yes, it is good. It's a good amount of doing. But then, I started pushing it a little bit further, and I was like, oh, well, what if I do up to here and round again? And starting just pushing that little bit further and a little bit further until the end. I think towards the end of lockdown, before I went back to work, I think I was pushing 28, 30 miles on the mountain bike, and I'd just go everywhere. I mean, there was one point where I nearly drowned myself in a canal because I was on a towpath and I was going for it because I was like, this is good. And I always used to stop at this lock, and I'd it was literally the lock was maybe 2-3 minutes further to get to my house. So it was I'd stop there. I'd done 28 miles and it'd be the last mile to my house, but I'd stop there because it was very nice. Lockdown was nice, so it was beautiful, warm, sunny. I'd stop there, drink my water, relax, it was a nice ride, and then just crack on for the last mile, just gently cool down. I was coming around this towpath, I was flying, and then all of a sudden it was there was just this massive thorn bramble bush that came across. It just wrapped itself across my face, and obviously the bike went that way, and I just went, nah, I'm going to go that way because that was the bush, and it was just my face was just bleeding massively. It was all gashed up, and I was like, if I'd have gone that way, I'd have been in the canal, and God knows what would have happened at that point. I was like, this is horrendous.
Where'd your bike go? In the canal?
No, I was holding on to it.
Okay.
It was, but I was holding on to it, so I was sort of lying on the floor, holding on to my bike that way, and I was sort of spaced out, lying on the floor, looking up, and I was like, oh my God, I hope no one saw that.
The bike lived on.
Yeah, it did, yeah. Well, that bike did live on, just about. It's still living on just about now, but it is in the end of its days, I think. But
So sort of, how long did you go into that course of, right, I'm going to ride, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that? Sort of, how long did you realise that you fell into love of the cycling bug, if you know what I mean?
not very long, really, because again, cycling sort of one of them things that I used to bike to school as well.
Okay, yeah.
And that was, my primary school was obviously when you're in primary school, you're 6 years old, aren't you? So when you say 2 miles, that's quite a long way for a 6-year-old to be biking to school. But again, it was sort of thing I always used to biking to school, and even when we went secondary school, I'd bike, and that was a 6-mile round trip to school and back. So I'd always meet my friends on the way, and we'd bike together and back again. So I sort of always had the love for it, but I just never really thought I had the time for it, so I would never do it because it's always quite, if you're going out on a bike and doing 2 hours, it's quite time consuming.
Absolutely.
So I was like, I'll just leave it. It didn't take long because I was like, this is actually quite good because I can actually get my thrill for speed and adrenaline if I do downhill riding whilst benefiting
calories,
myself and getting fit and everything else. So I was like, and I mean, I say it costs less, but once you've got the bike and the equipment, you sort of sorted with karting to do that and feed that bug. It's you need the transport to get to the car to the circuit, then you need to pay for the track hire, then you need to pay for this, the fuel, the tyres, and then all of a sudden you've done the day and then the car shat itself, and then it's like, now you need the car rebuild, and then it's like, last time I went out, my motor went, and it's like, now I need an engine rebuild, but I also need an axle, bearings, this, that, and the other, and it's like a $2,000 worth of bill, and I'm like, I can't physically just, I mean, I need to do it at some point.
Cycling is hands down cheaper than karting. Like,
absolutely.
At the minute, yeah.
And if it still gives you that little bit of a rush of the speed and the adrenaline.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And if you're with the boys, you have a bit of a race every now and then.
Exactly,
you know, it's wicked.
Yeah.
It is wicked.
It is good. So that's sort of, it was quite a young age, I'd say. I sparked with cycling, but it was only lockdown really that it sort of kicked off and went big.
Okay. And so obviously you went from my mic stands moving away from me. You went from a road bike. When did you purchase the?
No, the way around.
Come on.
Sorry, you went from a mountain bike
to a road
When did you
bike.
purchase the road bike?
I actually purchased the road bike after lockdown because coming out of lockdown, obviously we all got furloughed because COVID happened and we couldn't go racing, doing what we do. And because of the programs I was on at the time, they couldn't facilitate to actually keep us all on where we were working.
Okay.
So we all got made redundant, and I just went out contracting. Like, I think I was doing like 30-day months of just pushing work out. Like, I'd come back, be back for like a day at home, just change bags and go to like the next circuit and do another weekend's work. And I actually built up quite a bit of money, which is, and again, it's not the best thing to do. That's why I've got the car I've got now, because obviously I did well in that period of time. And I was sort of looking, I was like, I really want to get like a road bike. So I was like talking to people and they were like, oh, well, you will notice a difference between the mountain bike and the road bikes. Obviously, it's got skinnier tyres, less drag, less this, more aerodynamic, and everything else. So I was like, I would like to have a go on it. So I was like, I'm and ahhing. And eventually I went to a bike shop. And obviously, because it was COVID and everyone was getting into cycling, there was this cycle to work scheme and everything else. Bikes were hard to come by. Like, unless you want to pay $7,000 for a bike, because no one's paying $7,000 for a bike, they were the only ones in stock. Or the bikes that were either like made for BFG or small people. So there was this one bike which I've got now, and I went there. I was like, this is the one I'm looking at. They're like, oh, we've just literally built this one. It came in this morning. It's built and it's your size. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm having it.
Nice.
I was like, I was sort of a bit like, oh, that's quite a bit of money on a bike, innit? But then I was like, at the end of the day, I was looking secondhand and new market, and I was like, it's in front of me. If I keep putting it off, I'm not going to make the purchase to actually have it. So I was like, I'll just make the purchase and deal with the loss of money and resave it. So that's sort of, it was sort of end of COVID. I think I've had the bike now a year and a half.
Okay, nice.
So
it's quite funny. So like you've done the recently, you've bought a bike, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
And people look at it in two different ways. You have some people that aren't interested in the sport or aren't interested in getting healthy, and they go, wow, that's a lot of money. Then you have the person that is involved in the situation, and then you listen to the backstory. It's actually an investment in themselves. For you, it was an investment in weight loss.
Yeah.
It was an investment in getting where you wanted to be. And it's the same with you. If you want to get better at cycling, you get a better bike.
Yeah.
If you want to do something and get out on the road and enjoy cycling, then you go and get a better bike. It's just your hobby. It's what's going to improve your life, so you go and do it. Yeah. Whereas, we should all be looking at saving money, yes, correctly, but at the same time, there's no point saving money if we've got nothing to work towards and to spend it on.
Spot on. We still need to live our lives. And I think that's what people like misunderstand us occasionally. We're so tight. We are quite strict with money, aren't we? Yeah. But at the same time, we want to enjoy ourselves. The bike for me is one, a fitness and health thing. It's going to help me out massively. But also two, it's a social thing. We're going to go out for bike rides. Yep. You cycle however many miles, have a coffee, and then cycle back all the way back.
Coffee. Have a beer.
Don't say that. Not a beer and a pint. Jesus, going to be healthy.
5 and riding.
Yeah. But that's the thing. It's the social side of it, and we have a laugh with it. And a big group of you, 4 or 5 lads, going for a bike ride. You knock into it's 2 birds with 1 stone. You do it Saturday morning. You've nailed the day. It's just a wicked. It's just if something you want to do, you should do it. That money's not wasted. It's not wasted money if you buy a bike.
It's also the things you see along the way. Like some of the summer just gone. So I was going out doing massive miles like in the evenings, and I think I probably did not too many miles, but didn't give myself enough recovery time. But like riding around here, sunset in the summer, some of the scenes and sunsets and views I saw across fields and all the rest of it, it's mega.
Yeah, you wouldn't see it from your
house.
house.
You wouldn't see it from sitting on the sofa playing Call of Duty or watching YouTube. Like I was like, I've got some photos of it, and I was like, these are like some seriously nice views that I'm seeing it. Like whilst benefiting myself, and it's just
So on the final then of before I let Butson take over on the work/money side of things, what was your total weight loss? Do you know?
25 kilos.
So 25 kilos in how long, roughly? Lockdown?
Yeah, 2 months, 2.5 months. I came back. So the last trip I did was to Asia, and I came back from that weighing 100, and within the first week of lockdown, I was up to 104, and I went, no, that's it. Because if I keep going, it was like 4 kilos a week. So if I was off for like 2 months, that's going to be, it's going to keep going.
Yeah.
And again, it was the same sort of thing. I was just eating for the sake of eating because I was bored, which I still do now, and I hate doing it, but I do it because it's just what I do. And yeah, I went to the first race, I think, and I was down at 78 kilos when I went back. And I mean, I fluctuate now, but nowhere near to the extent that I was at before. Like, and I kind of now know what I've got to do to get back down, but I also know I've kind of got two weights. I've kind of got like a winter weight and a summer weight. It's really difficult.
Don't we all?
But it's kind of difficult because it's like no matter what I seem to do currently, it doesn't shift, and it sort of stays and hangs about, and it won't drop below 80. But as soon as summer comes, I mean, obviously I'm less active now because I was doing 45 miles on a bike every night and eating nothing, which again isn't healthy. Whereas now I'm trying to eat more to give myself some more energy and actually eat like you probably should, and still doing exercise. I still do like 45, 50 minutes on the bike. I did your thing after a leg workout. I do that sort of stuff. I do my training things on the bike at work on the watt bike, and I still get on the bike when I can at home when I can go out. I mean, my dad's got a watt bike at home as well, so I get on that. I've got a new app that I can do like Tour de France routes on and all sorts of stuff. I mean, I'm no good at them. They're like 25% climbs and for like 25 miles, and I was like, yeah, I can do that. I could do that. And I was like, nah, I got 2 miles, and I was like, oh, that's not happening. But no, it was probably a total of like 25 kilo loss, I think.
But you can say that you've found your niche in losing weight, you found your enjoyment, and you've got the bug, and that's it. You've just stuck at it.
Yep.
That's what I love.
It's just going to stay. Well, the cycling as well for me is also a mindset thing.
Okay.
As weird as it sounds, it's like, because it's obviously time where I can go and just zone out and just think, how can I better myself? How can I do this? What can I do to physically get more out of this performance? And I think that kind of helps a lot with the way I think a bit as well now, because it just allows me to clear my brain quite a lot. So
it is good for
benefits me in many ways, as well as just help like that side of health, but also mentally sort of going at like, what can I physically do? Like what can I do to physically sprint better for longer? What can I do to climb? What can I do for this? How can I, even down to things like just thinking about, because obviously I've got a clear mind thinking about pedal strokes and all the other weird things you think about when cycling, like how sexy looking lycra, like how I can be a better person physically, like for work and for this and for that, like just thinking about everything really. So no, it's quite good for every sort of reason.
It is good for mindset. Exercise is good for mindset, isn't it? They do say you're going to be more productive if you will think of more ideas, whether it be about business or fitness or whatever, while exercising / going for a walk, just being active as opposed to sat at a desk going, come on, think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Your neurons fire so much quicker and like expand your brain. You have more access to it when your blood's flowing than it does when you're sat at the desk. So it is good for that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, fair play to you for the cycling side of things. And also, I'm going to hand over to Butson now, but you're going to talk about the podcast /money /mindset side of things as well.
Yeah, no worries. I can
let's get on to it, because you have done an amazing job on your weight loss journey. But let's get into your work first, because I want to go into that, because I think the amount you changed from me knowing you when I first met you to now, because you're a different bloke as well, like mindset wise.
Yeah.
You're currently at Aston Martin Formula One team as a mechanic, right? So he's not just an average mechanic; he is a Formula One mechanic. All right.
Only just. It's still not sunk in yet.
No,
not yet.
But even still, you made it, and you're a top G for that. Recently, you were fired, weren't you?
Pretty much.
Essentially,
I was sort of forced out the door.
Yeah.
I mean, as it goes, I quit, but I was forced out of a position that I was in.
That's it. And that's a pretty terrible position to be put in.
Yeah, pretty much, especially the circumstances it was. Yeah.
Exactly. It was absolutely load of rubbish, and we won't get into that. But you were knocked down pretty hard.
Massively, yeah.
But for I'm going deep. You were knocked down pretty hard,
Yeah.
but you'd also been working on your mindset for what, last 2 years? Before
Yes.
a year? Since
Well, since
a year
knowing
after
you,
COVID.
so it was kind of since knowing you, really, because you were
Because we were
sort of-
pushing it on you,
Yeah,
like-
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Don't have a choice.
You're like, you're going to do
Yeah.
this. And you've been
It was
working on
pretty
it and
much
working
you
on it.
lot,
Working. And we could see you getting better and better over time. And I don't think you'd have been a lot worse off with your original mindset in that situation.
100%.
You know, being forced out the door.
Yeah.
But the way you handled it this time was amazing, because look at you now. You are
Oh,
in Formula
yeah,
One now,
exactly.
and you've literally leapfrogged. You've used it just like we've done in our success stories. Ray Dalio, Matt Fraser, Bill Gates, they all have a really down point in their lives, and they come bound up and accelerate from it because you've learned from the situation. You know what to do in the future, and you kept a cool head, and just you knew what your ambitions and your goals were, so you just stuck to them.
Yeah.
And looking out, you're absolutely smashing it.
Well, the other thing is, I sort of, it sounds really snobby, but I sort of knew from the point of what was being said, it sort of hit me quite hard because I was like, I actually know I can do the job, but I didn't feel like I could do the job at the same time from how I was being treated. It was like, oh, I can't do this, or it was like, you know, the way it was, I was like, can I actually do this? There was that point in my mind where I was like, am I actually doing this?
Questioning yourself.
Like,
Yeah,
can
yeah.
I do this? And I was like, well, everything I've done in the past, everyone said like, I'm mega. So I was like, I'll just take that advice and leave this one. And again, it was like, again, within the first, 2 weeks of going out the door, I'd had like 4 or 5 interviews at different places. I had like
Mega.
Jaguar Formula E wanted me. I had like interviews at Haas. I had like all these people wanted me. And within 3 weeks of leaving, I was back in work again, like full time, everything else, and still on the same pay, doing a good job. Wasn't where I wanted to be, but it was keeping me on track of doing things and in a good environment. And, you know, I went and did like the Nürburgring 24 with that time off again and all this sort of stuff that I saw.
Opportunities.
It was a big down, and don't get me wrong, it wasn't easy. It impacted me massively, but I look at the ups and what I gained from it, and I'm kind of grateful that it actually happened, and I'm in a lot better. I'm in a lot. I'm going to butcher.
In a lot better position than you
in a
were.
lot better of a place than I was there.
You absolutely nailed it there. At the time, it's devastating, and you're heartbroken. I remember I got sacked, and I actually got sacked because I made a big mistake. This is years and years ago. And I remember driving home crying because I thought, oh, my life's over.
Yeah.
You know? And now looking back on me, actually, it was the best thing that's ever happened. Because then I'd changed who I was, I'd changed my trajectory, and it was just, it's the best thing that ever happens. And you just said that. Looking back now, in hindsight, sometimes they are the best things that ever happened.
Yeah.
But you still kept cool, calm, and collected because you went to do all these experiences.
Yeah.
And you questioned yourself while you were at the place before. You just said other people were saying you were great, but here you saying they weren't. That affects a man quite a lot.
Well, but even in that sense, it was still people within the same environment. This was the bit that got me. People within the same environment that were telling me that I couldn't do the job and hadn't done the job right were telling me a week prior that I could do the job really well, and that was like really good. And it was that sort of thing. Like, well, who do I actually believe? Like, what do I believe here? Is it, can I do it, or are they just blowing smoke up my arse? If that makes sense.
So
to make me feel
self-doubt.
good. Yeah.
Self-doubt was setting in, and that's dangerous. Like you can
So dangerous.
you can wind yourself up. Like, man, I've done it before myself. When you start doubting yourself, like, actually, am I supposed to be doing this? Am I in the right place? Self-doubt is toxic because again, it's only in your head, and you can, like, I'm sure we've all done. Listeners have done it. You just wind yourself up, and get yourself in a really dangerous position.
Yeah.
And it's so tough to get out of. You need something like getting the dream job, getting the goal to sort of go, hang on, nah, stop being.
Refocus
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
And it can be tough, but you've managed to smash it out of the park. You've done it
Yeah.
because you're the strongest like mindset I've ever seen you, and the happiest I've ever seen you, and leanest I've ever seen you. You're looking incredible.
Thank you.
So it's all going really well for you.
Yeah.
And you have had your dark times.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like you have to have the dark times to get to the good times, and without that, it forms you as a person as well.
Spot
I feel like, you know, you learn from the bad times, and you're like, well, okay, I won't necessarily do that again. But also, I know what was said. I now know reasons behind what was said of why things happened, but it's also given me time now to reflect and go, okay, well, I can now fully change that. Which, I mean, I never thought it was, but I mean, you never really notice it from your own point of view because you think you might be all right. You need someone else to sort of tell you something to go, okay, maybe I should look into it. But I mean, I say from that, I've sort of gone, okay, well, I just have to push basically as hard as I physically can and get what I want, and that's it, really.
It's quite funny in that respect. Like you said, the I can't. I can look at myself and I can say, yeah, I've done this wrong, I've done that wrong, I've done that right, I've done this right. But as we said about hate comments, sometimes hate comments hurt because they're true.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't because they're just absolutely complete rubbish. But at the same time, when you have a hate comment and you go, right, let me just revalidate that. Let me go and ask someone that I actually truly know and truly trust, and they're going to tell me straight.
Yeah.
Am I fat? Yes. Okay. Then fine. I know I have a problem. I need to fix it.
Yeah.
So like you said, it's just trying to figure out, okay, yes, that's a true statement. No, that's absolute rubbish.
Yeah.
And yes, I need to work better at this. And no, I don't. I'm fine in what I'm doing. So like I said, the two conflicts of interest that you've got going on, you just have to pick the right one and then go with that. And obviously that's what you did because you believed in yourself. And now you quit your dream job.
You also have to go with the majority of people.
Yeah.
If you've got a small minority going this, and you've got a bigger minority saying, actually, you're not, then it's like you sort of go with the bigger minority of going, maybe you should listen to them in a way and not, I know, sort of not really working on it, but go off the bigger minority than the smaller minority, which is sort of what also helped me in a way of just going off the bigger minority that actually knew me than the smaller minority that didn't actually know me at all.
Yeah, in that situation, yeah, when the people that know you, the majority of people that know you are on your side, then yes, definitely. But when it comes to world events or just general life, sometimes the majority isn't the ones to go with, personally. And this is nothing to do with this. Is
No,
talking
yeah.
about like
Yeah.
money and
Yeah.
power and how to go about life. If you follow the majority, you're just going to be where the majority are. It's just that rat race. We're all in the rat race at the minute. If we just follow everyone else blindly, like we're taught to do from kids,
Yep.
you're just going to be a standard everyday Joe. You leave the minority, go to the minority. You leave the majority, go to the minority.
Yep.
Be your own person, walk your own path. That's where you can excel.
Yeah.
And I think, your situation, definitely the majority was right there. But I think sometimes you do just question everything, basically. Even people's hate comments, question them. People's, right, who are these people making these comments?
Yeah.
Why are they making these comments? You just got to question everything like that. And then I think you start to see something clear. It's like, oh, actually, yeah, I'm fussing over nothing,
Yeah, 100%.
Where did you... No, not big in the podcast up here at all. Where did you learn your mindset and sort of money skills from?
Finding success.
Because obviously, as we said, we're in as a trio here. We're in quite a toxic environment, and when I think me and you started the journey, we let's not say took it upon ourselves to share the love, but we did.
Yeah,
we were like, right, actually, we can see grass is greener over there. We know that there's better stuff out there. We can sort of improve our lives and at the same time help our peers. And how did it come about? Can you remember? As in, like, how did we start spreading it? Was it the podcast, or was it just we started it individually first? Didn't we, I think?
Yeah. We were both working on ourselves for a long time. And then we're like, hang on, this is what we're doing is massive. It's actually changing our lives. Like day to day, we can see a difference.
Yeah.
So we just start talking about it to people we trusted, and like, look, just let's go into this. Let's try this. Mindset is key.
Yeah, because I was working with you at the point, and it was like when the podcast was first starting, and it was like you were just like, oh, just try doing this, try doing that, and it was like I was like, oh yeah. Oh, yeah, it works. It does go. It's like, yeah.
We worked on ourselves and we planted a few seeds in other people. Yeah. And we're like, do you know what? Actually, this is killer. It's working with not just ourselves, other people that are interested. Let's do the podcast. And that's how the podcast started, wasn't it? And yeah, it was just by planting. You got to be willing to do it. You were a very willing learner. You were soaking up like a sponge. Same as a couple of other people. They're all like keen on it, but it's those toxic ones that weren't.
Yeah.
But we knew that, and we just wouldn't have anything to do with them. And just like exactly. We know the toxic people aren't listening. Yeah. They're not here. That's why it's such like sound space. All the listeners here are about growing and getting better, whether it's mindset, finances, or growing a businesses. They're all here to get better, and that's what we're here doing. And we're still doing it till the day we die.
That's right.
Pretty much.
That's all I had to say. That was the end of that.
No,
I didn't know if you thought I was building up to more, but that was I thought that was quite impactful to the day we die. That was... No, is that not big enough full stop?
I wanted to let that fester for a bit.
Let it fester.
So, to current day, as you just said, yes, you've had your flaws over the years. Yep. We've all had our flaws over the years. We've had tough times. We've had the dark days. We've had the friends that need to say, get up off that horse and let's just go. And you've done that. You've come from... where you were, you're 104 kilos, whatever, you're now 70-something, 80-something. You're comfortable, you're free, you're happy, you're healthy, you're loving life, you enjoy what you do every single day. What is the big question here. The final goal for what here? Do we have a final goal? Say in 5 years' time, what we're going to go for? I like this. I like the question. You don't have to share it if you don't want to. You can just maybe give a snippet of maybe like a year goal or something, because we might want to keep the 5 year goal quiet. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
maybe go a year. Go a year.
Well, for my yearly goal, I mean, it's more personal areas. So
Okay.
like cycling goals of
Nice.
distances to achieve. So I mean, last year I got close to the 50-mile mark.
For a ride out.
Yeah, just like a one loop ride. I think I got up to 48 miles. So I was 2 miles short. I still want to see that 50 mile.
Okay, nice.
But this year I'm going, hopefully, for the 75.
Good.
Preferably the 100 if I can make it. But I mean, that's why I'm still starting now and going, because I want to keep my body going, because I reckon over the summer I can achieve that if I just push and go for it. You know, I've looked at a few of the cancer research races for like London to Brighton, 100 miles and stuff like that.
Nice.
Again, I don't know whether I'd achieve that this year, because I'd kind of maybe do that in a year's time.
Okay.
Just to actually be able to do 100 miles for a start, because I want to start to 100 miles and only do 50 because that's a bit weak. I'd like to be able to finish the challenge. And again, it's just more being in a more positive, I suppose, financial place. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm in a bad place. I mean, you guys kind of know I'm quite good with saving, but I'd like to be even better, if that makes sense.
Have you got your cash buffer done?
Cushion.
Yeah,
Cushion side. Yeah.
of course I have.
Okay. Well, but
I've
we
been
started.
since
We still
day
need to
one.
start passive investing then, or have you started passive
Yeah,
investing?
no, I've not started doing any of that yet.
So there's
That
the
scares-
next
step.
That scares me, so I don't really know what I'm doing there. So I just
There we
That's
go.
why you
That's
need
the
to
area
need to listen to the episode.
I do listen to the episode, every single
Come
one.
on.
Well, there we go.
Every
Then maybe
single
we'll
one.
can be our second little dang bus, and we'll start the passive investment,
Yeah,
and we'll see where we can go from that. Because now is the time.
Now is the
We do
time.
not want to miss this opportunity, because you're at the low, and there's no, obviously, it's time in the market, not time in the market, but now is the perfect time to get involved in passive investing, especially for yourself. If you've got the cash buffer going, if you're ready to go, then
Cash
cushion, sorry. Then let's get ready to go. We'll do it.
Yeah.
Anything else to add?
No.
Anything else?
No.
You want to talk about social media or anything, or are you happy as you are?
No, because
Roger that. All right.
I don't need people stalking me.
Whoa, there is such a following with on people stalking. Thanks everyone for listening, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to our guest, Jack. Really
You're a
appreciate it,
superstar.
mate. Been an absolute mega, and I really appreciate you sharing your journey, and keep pushing on, mate. You're doing well. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, links will be down below. Don't forget to rate, subscribe, and share the episode. Help get this podcast out to the world. Take care, guys. Have a good week, and I will see you next time.
Wave Jack.
Success is available for everyone, so why should you settle for less?